Okay, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and input a fixture. This is a relatively inexpensive fixture that you can purchase online. It's made by Shehds, S-H-E-H-D-S. So you'll find it on various sites. 100-watt LED. I believe it has, though, a Gobo wheel in it, one or two Gobo wheels, and some other features to it. Looks like this LED pattern light. Now, what I have to do, though, is go to the website and get some information. So I went to the Shehds website, and here we have the light there. Found it, and also downloaded the manual here. So I have the information as far as what my channels do. A little bit ambiguous, though. It doesn't give you specific things about the channels, but we can figure it out mathematically. So let's go back to it. We have some information here. We know that it's an LED light, but it also uses a Gobo wheel. So we'll do that as far as colors go. Some dimensions. It's looks like 20 centimeters by 33.5 by 21. So we'll go back to and put that in here. So let's go back to our program. Click on here. And the depth is like 21. We're just going to leave it like this as far as just make it a regular head. I don't need to do a lot of information. If you want to, you put that in here. This SHEHDS, the Shehds is the manufacturer, and 100, I can just put in here 100 watts. Again, this is not going to matter a lot as far as the display goes here. Again, you can fill that information here if you wish. I just want a number in here, 100. There we go. Okay, as far as the beam goes, let's go back and see if we can find some information as far as the beam is going to go here. I don't see anything here. We can look in the manual and see if that gives us any information as far as what the size of the beam goes, or in the description. Like I said, this is a good example because they don't give you a lot of specifics with this. And if you can't decide as far as what the beam is going to be, just give it a relatively decent sized beam, and that way you'll be able to display it with the visualizer program. So in a quick look here, I don't see anything about the size of the beam. So I'll go back to my program here really quickly, and I'm just going to say that it's going to be a spot because we're going to be displaying gobos. So I'm just going to crank this up and say it's going to be like about a 45. That'll give me a pretty good size beam on the floor in my visualizer program when I do this. You can always go back in and edit it later if you wanted to do something that's a little bit smaller beam size on the stage when you're working with that. That's pretty much all you need to do here. So I'll say OK, and that information is saved. If we want to go up and start saving it here, I could click on the Save button. Now I'm just going to leave this in the generic and just title it Shehds 100, and then it'll appear in this generic folder when I go looking for it. So when I go back to my visualizer program, I'll find this in the generic folder, and it's going to be called Shehds 100, and I'll just save it. All right, so now let's take a look at our light here and our channels. So first thing we have, channel 1 is dimming and channel 2 is strobe. So let's get those in. There's dimmer, grab this, drop it in, and dimmer. And then the next channel on there is strobe, which is right here. So I will drop that in for shutter. And we can retitle this and call this strobe. Just double click up there and then it will say strobe. Now you'll notice that immediately these guys are red. The reason is, and there's the little warning sign here, we haven't done anything, put any values in here. We've created a channel 1 and a channel 2 DMX, but we don't have any values in here. So now I can go back, and if I look in the manual here, there's nothing specific. Dimming is just DMX value 0 to 255. So I can go back here. And now here's where you're going to go down to this menu here, and we're going to look through. Again, you'll get little things that will pop up, some hints. So I want to go to my dimming menu here, which is here. Click here. Now I get some values here, and again, if I hold it here, I'm just going to do dimmer linear. Take this and drop it in this window under dimmer. So now I have values from 0 to 255. So the visualizer program knows that I can adjust the dimmer values, and it's just one value as far as the dimmer goes, 0 to 255. Okay? This check mark up here is the default preset for it. This step or proportional, if you have this checked, the light is going to immediately go to that value. So this has to do with HTP and LTP values with your light. If you're not going step proportional, and we send a DMX change that takes 5 seconds, and the dimmer goes from 0 to full in 5 seconds, the light would gradually come on. If it's step proportional, it's going to immediately jump to that new value as soon as you start out. It's not going to take the 5 seconds to go there. It's immediately going to jump to that new value. So that's the difference with the step proportional. You're probably going to want to do that with things such as Gobo changes or color changes if you're using a color wheel, where you want it to jump to the next value. You don't want it to go to the next value gradually. Or if we could uncheck it, now it will do a gradual increase. We could leave it that way too. So our dimmer is taken care of. We have the values in there. Strobe, let's take a look back. It says strobe, we have 4 to 251 is strobe frequency, and then 251 to 255 is open light. So we have two different sets of values in here. So let's go back and take care of that. So I'm going to go to my shutter, and I'm going to drop one in here. Whoops. And they do give me some values in here. And here's our strobe, and I will drop that in here. And then I'm going to take this, which is shutter open, and then drop it in here too. Now, notice what it did. The program will automatically split evenly. So it did 0 to 127 for strobe speed, and it did shutter open 128 to 255. Well, we don't want that. We want the strobe, if we remember the manual back here, to be from 4 to 251. So actually, we need to put in another value. They weren't really clear here because 0 to 4 is basically, it's closed. So let's go back and do that. Let's do shutter closed. I'm going to drop this in here. And you can take this and then move it up to this one. Now notice that it kind of split things differently again. So shutter closed is 0. I'm going to double click on this number here and type in 3. Now notice it automatically adjusted 0 to 3. Now strobe is 4, but it still goes from 4 to 191, which is not correct. I'm going to click 4 is correct. I'll double click down here on my number and type in 251. There we go. And then 252 to 255 is shutter open. So now we've got everything correct as far as that strobe field. Okay, as far as the check mark in the first square, this is where you want the light to start at. So if we want it to start at the strobe position here, or halfway through strobe, we put a check mark there. If we just want to do light open, then I would put a check mark down here, and notice how it jumped. So basically, when we start out, it's going to start with an open. All right, so our other channels here, let's see what we've got. We've got pan and tilt, looks fairly simple. However, if we look back here, notice that, and I kind of missed this, the pan is 540 degrees and tilt is 180. So 540 and 180. So let's go back and fix that in our lighting program here. So pan is 540 and tilt is 180. That'll be important because, again, for the visualizer to make the light do, so this light can actually spin around more than 360 degrees. So we want to let the visualizer know that, certain DMX values, this light can spin around more than twice. from using DMX values 0 through 255. As far as tilt angle goes, it can only go at a 180 degree tilt. So that would be very important to put those correct pan and tilt angles in here, or else when you send the DMX values to it, you're not going to get the same result you think. So that's one case where we've got to get that information in there. When I grab pan and tilt and drop it in here, it automatically creates those two channels. I don't have to do anything else for them. They're up and running. Notice that the other channels, when we didn't put in values, they came up red with a yellow warning sign telling us that we needed to put information in there, and we did that. With these, you don't need to put information in. They're just going to be pan and tilt. Really quick here, if you have fine pan, fine tilt, if you right-click on any of these, you can click on fine, and it'll add the micro pan to that. Anytime you want to get rid of anything here, just right-click on it and click delete, and it will go away. If you need to rename anything, you can double-click on the sign, or you can right-click on it and say rename it, modify the channel, whatever, and you can add different things in there. So right-clicking does get you some things. Okay, let's take a look at our next channel here that we have to bring up. It's going to be channel 5, and this is going to be pan tilt speed. So let's go back and add that in. That's going to be a speed. We'll just drop it in here, speed. I'm going to double-click up here and call it PT speed. Okay, and we have 0 presets there. We do need to enter a preset for this. So I'm going to go to my speed presets here and take speed and just drop it in there. And it'll be 0 to 255. It's going to be set at 127. And we're going to have it step 2 proportional jump to that speed setting. Now, you will notice with this one that it will stay red, but there's a little, maybe a kind of a glitch in the program. And it's, if you hold over here, it says missing target channel recommended, set target channel, etc., etc. This will work this way. You don't have to worry about it being in that particular way. I don't know why. It's a common setting here. It should be speed and it should accept that, but it's a little bit confused as far as that goes, but it will work. All right, let's take a look at our next channel, channel 6. Channel 6 is going to be our color wheel 0 to 255. Now, here's where we have to do a little bit of mathematics. So we've got a color wheel. How many colors are in that color wheel? It doesn't give us any specifics here. But if I look back and I look in the description, the online description of this, it tells me that here's the color wheel: red, green, blue, yellow, violet, sky, white, and whatever LGN is. Okay, so color wheel. So I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different settings for that color wheel. I'll just start one here, and then I'll stop the recording here for a minute and add the rest of them in. You'll get the idea. So let's do the first couple here, which is red, green, blue. Go back to the program. So we're going to do color wheel, which is here. Drop color in. And I have 0 presets. Now we're going to go here to color, and what you can actually do then is choose the color and go red, and now I will simply take this over and drop it in here for a preset. I can double click here and say red, so I have my color. Notice that it's currently saying 0 to 255. Now I need to do green. I'll go over here and choose my green, drop that in. Again, it's split in half. There's my green. Call this one, double click here and call that green. Or you could even do GRN. Blue is going to be my next color, so I'm going to grab my square, go down here, drop to blue, drop that in, red, green, blue. Notice that I kind of split these ones in half, so because of where I dropped it in. And so we'll have to go back and fix all of these later as we're doing them. So let's do yellow. Drop that in here. And call that yellow. Oh, we didn't do the blue color here. Blue. Violet. Okay, so you get the idea. Keep dropping your colors in. then you're going to have to go back and correct here then for the colors. So we have 8 colors in the color wheel. That's all that the manual has told us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have to assume that they are split up evenly. So let's take the 255 and divide that up into even portions. So we get the calculator out. 255 divided by 8 equals, so approximately 31, 32, somewhere in that range. So I need to go back then and make my first, this should be 0 to about 31, or let's say 32. All right, then so it's about 32 for each channel. So the next one is going to be 33, and we add 32 to that, and we come up with 65. So you're getting the idea? So you'll have to go back then and set this up and correct all of your channels so they're equally. So 0 to 32 is red, 33 to 65 is probably green. Sometimes the manual will give you that information. This manual is not really real clear about that. So we know that there's 8 different colors in there. We just kind of have to figure that out mathematically ourselves and then go ahead and put that information in. Okay, then we go to Gobo 1 here. Channel 7 is going to be Gobo 1. So we'll go back and just close this up. Again, I would have to finish putting in the rest of my presets and figure them out where they're going to be. Gobo 1, so we pick up our Gobo wheel here. Gobos, drop that in. And we're going to have 8 presets for that. So then we would go over to Gobos here. Now, again, if it's a real clear manual, they may show us exactly what the different Gobos are going to look like. And this manual is very brief and concise. They gave us a little bit of an idea over here in the one picture that there's a 6 Gobo wheel and then there's a 7 Gobo wheel. All right, so again, it would depend upon what's happening here. So you have 6 Gobos that are happening in this wheel. Let's assume that the first wheel is the 6th wheel here that we're working with. Manual really doesn't tell us that much. Well, let's look at it once real carefully again. But this is a great example because it shows you don't always get all the information that you actually need to set these things up, and you'll have to use a little bit of detective work to figure it out. So this is going to be the dynamic Gobo select. I'm guessing these are the Gobos that actually move because there's a static Gobo wheel and then there's a dynamic Gobo wheel. So if we look back, this would be the dynamic Gobo wheel. So there's 6 patterns that are in the dynamic Gobo wheel. All right. I don't really know which one is which one is what. So you might have to experiment around here. For the time being, I can just say Gobo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I could just pick some random ones from here if you wanted to, and just put those in there, and then later on change them out or adjust them. So I will do that for the time being. Just drop some Gobos in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Now we have to fix our numbers in here for the Gobo wheel, the channel 7. And this gets a little bit more complex here if we go to the manual. So 10 through 79 is the Gobo select. So we have to split up those numbers. So 0 to 10 is no Gobos at all. So we need to put select in for that. So I'm going to click up here and say no Gobo, and that was 0 through 10. So I'm going to double click on my bottom number here and say 10. So that changes that. Now we have to figure out mathematically 10 through 79 is the other 6 gobos. So that's basically 69. So again, back to the calculator. Clear this out. 69 divided by, what was that, 6? So it seems like about 11, every 11 or 12 DMX values that we change gobos. So then I jump back in here. So then 11, add 12 to that, you come up with 23. So we'll change this to 23. 20. Let's see, the next one would be 23 to 35. So this one would be 35. This one would be 35. Add 12 to that, makes it 47. All right, you getting the idea then? And add 12 to this, so that would be 59. All right, 1, so no gobo, and then gobo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is gobo 5, so add 12 to that. That would be 60, 71, I think, if my math is correct. Oh, we have to drop in another gobo here, because it won't, let's put it. All right, so 59, add 12 to that is 60, 71. That's that. And then we're not even done yet, because then I have to go back with this channel and we have to do 80 through 129. So there are basically 6 settings here, 6 here, 6 here, and 6 here. So that's 24 different presets we're going to have for this one channel. So you would have to go through and do those 24 presets for the channel, split this up into 24 sections, figure out what gobos it is that are going to be displayed in there, and work with it that way. Okay, so setting that gobo channel up is going to take quite a bit of time to get that done properly. I'm not going to take the time to do that because we want to try to keep the video reasonably long here. Let's go to our next channel. You're going to do the same kind of thing for gobo 2, and then you're going to do the same kind of thing for gobo rotation here, okay? And set up those channels for that. So I'll just drop in some gobo channels. Channel 8 and channel 9 are more gobo channels that I can drop in there. So more gobo channels, more work that we have to do to get those up and running. Then our next channel here is going to be a Prism channel. So channel 10 is going to be Prisms. Let's look at that. I believe they do have a Prism channel on here. There we go, Prism channel. We drop that in. By the way, you can move any of these channels around by just grabbing them and dropping them in here. If we had to move pan and tilt to the beginning, I could just move pan over there and drop it in, or I can move pan back over there. So any of the channels are movable, just grab them and slide them around. Just make sure that you end up having everything when you're all done in the correct order. All right, so we have our Prism channel, and the same thing here. We're going to go in and we're going to add values to that. So I would go to my prisms here, and let's see what the handbook says for this particular one. Prism switch and prism rotation. So 10 through 14. So we need, again, they didn't give us 0 to 10, 0 to 9 to tell us what that is. Okay, so 0 to 9 is, I guess, nothing. Then 10 to 14 and 15 to 255. So we would just go in here and say, I guess no prism, and this would be 0 to, we have to put in another value, then it's prism, and then it's prism rotation, whatever we could picture. It really doesn't matter what you have there. So this is going to be 0 to 9. This is going to be 10 to 14. Double click the number there, change that to 14. And then this is 15 to 255. And then you just put in your names here. This is going to be prism rotation. Okay, this is going to be prism select. We'll put down. Okay. So you get the idea. So prism channel is in there. Almost done, almost done. Long video here. Focus 0 to 255, channel 11. Let's pick up our focus channel, which I believe is this one here. Focus, drop that at the end. Focus, if we click on that, it kind of brings them up over here. We're just going to do focus linear, drop that in, 0 to 255. We got our focus channel in there. Next channel, pan fine and tilt fine. All right, remember what I said about these? Let's go back here. And I'm going to select my pan channel and right click on it and say fine. Now I put it in here as micro pan. I'm just going to drag it all the way over to the end here. So now it's channel 12 for micro pan. And go back to the beginning and do tilt. Right click that and say fine. And I put it in here at 5, but I need that to be over here at the end. So I'm just going to grab it over here so that it's channel 14. So 12 and 13. Let's see if that's correct. 12 and tilt fine, and then channel 14 is a system reset. So we would simply do the question mark here because it's a system thing, and drop that over on the end, and just put we'll just put in one setting for this, and we could just do that. We could put the question mark in there, and actually it could be anything that you want to do. I could take that symbol and just drop it in there, and then type in here reset. Even though that's a rotate symbol, we could put any symbol that we want in there. As long as we use that value, that would reset. All right, so then basically we have all of our channels set up for the light. Because it's going to take a little bit of work with this one because the manual isn't real clear, but this is probably a good example to take a look at and how to make things work for you.